everyone, it's Nicole.
And Jen, I'm back.
After many moons, I have my co-hostess with comostest.
Yes.
And today we are bringing you our 2018 Bookish Academy Awards.
Yay! He stayed up.
We are going to go through our favorite reads of 2018 Academy Awards style. Each category of the Academy Awards translates to a specific book category, which we will say beforehand, obviously. This always takes a long time because there are a lot of categories, so without further ado, we are going to go ahead and get started.
And the first award of the evening is for...
Alrighty, so the first category is for Best Actor or Best Male Protagonist.
My best male protagonist is Rowan from the Throne of Glass series, minus books 1 and 2 because he's not in those.
Because he's not in those, which, you know, is probably why I didn't like those books very much.
I really liked them.
It took into book 3 for me to get into that series,
you.
which, you know, makes sense because that's where Rowan makes his appearance, and he is fantastic. But yes,
He's a little bit of a dill hole in the beginning, though.
He is, but you know what?
We
She needed it. She
It's true.
needed it.
It's also true.
My pick is Archer Hale from Archer's Voice by Mia Sheridan. I talk about this book constantly this year because
It was good for you.
this was so good. I've honestly never read a romance book like this before. It was so poignant and so beautiful, and Archer Hale is a cinnamon roll, and he deserves all.
Explain that to me. Cinnamon roll. I've never gotten it.
He's just too precious for this world. That is what a cinnamon roll is.
All the time on Pinterest, I'm like, you're such a cinnamon roll, and I'm like,
He is too precious for this world. He deserves all the love and happiness and just everything. He deserves everything. And if you haven't read this book, you should. And it's on my list. And honestly, like, this is my... I'm still talking about it, even though I read it at the beginning of the year. And I want to reread it 17 more times.
all right. Category number 2.
Best Actress or Best Female Protagonist. So our pick
For
is
female protagonist is...
Aelin Galthinius from the Throne of Glass series.
Hashtag any of the other girls in here too, because they were all pretty badass.
Yes, they were.
But they weren't the main ladies, so that's why I was
Yes.
able to be like, cutthroat with all y'all.
Yeah, it's main protagonist. Sidekick comes later.
And the next category
Is Best Cinematography or Plot Twist. This isn't a plot twist that happens in this book, though. This
It's
is
a series.
It's the series. So, but this is the book that this particular character that the plot twist is involved in, is in this book. This is his book. His name is Dagger, aka Julian Eaton Anatole, and this is book 9. And for 8 books of this series, you hate this asshole. He seems to be the root of all the problems that one of the main characters in the previous books, like, he's the cause of everything, and then you get to his book and you learn his side of the story, and you're like, oh my god! You didn't know anything. You didn't know anything until you read this book. So,
Alright.
yeah, his whole life is a plot twist, actually. So, yes. But only Sherilyn Kenyon can take someone that you've hated for 8 books and make you fall in love.
Yay!
So, that would be my plot twist. Julian Eaton Anatole. Just his whole life.
I had 2. It's not surprising. I
not surprising.
I usually tend to have like 3 or 4 per category. So both books in the Nevernight Chronicles actually could have gone for this category. This is just the first one we were able to find because we're not at my house. And mine are all packed away.
Mine are all packed away, too.
Yeah, this one in particular though, and it was funny because Kelsey this morning was texting us and she's like, they all died, and I remember that. And then I was like, yay, they didn't. Which you'll never know because everybody dies in this book because J. Kristoff is terrible to all of us. So this book. And then Thunderhead was another one that we read. Actually, I read it after you guys. This was probably like September or so. And the ending on this book was cruel and unusual. And I didn't see it coming. You kind of did, but you also didn't see it coming until like the moment it happened. So
yeah, you didn't want it to happen.
yeah, you were hoping that the author wasn't that mean. And you
Apparently,
thought the worst you could, and you're like, this is the worst possible scenario that could happen, and it's unlikely to, and then it did, and you're like, well, that sucked.
Yes. It was one of those, especially in Thunderhead, it was just one of those parts where I just had to reread because that wasn't what I read. That can't be what I read. But yeah, it was.
And the next category in the Academy Awards is...
She has a really good voice. It is Best Costume Design or Best Book Cover.
Hopefully you'll be able to see this, but Lifelike, the UK edition, was one of my picks.
Gorgeous. That's actually,
This was one that I was looking for when I was looking for this one, which is called The Queen's Rising. And that one was actually one that I had a friend at work leave on my desk.
Oh, that's nice.
And she was like, I think you'd really like this. You should read it. And I loved it because it's one of those like matte finishes, so it's got like a weird texture to it.
Yes.
But it also has like stuff on it. It's really pretty.
All right, so my pick for that was The Bear and the Nightingale by Catherine Arden. No, I bought this book when it first came out because it was a cover buy. I honestly didn't know anything about it, and I saw this cover and I'm like, that's gorgeous. And yeah, it's just with the snow and in the forest and the cabin, and I'm just like, I like it. It's gorgeous.
And the next category in the 2018 Academy Awards is...
It is Best Supporting Actor and Actress / Sidekick. Did you pick a male and female? Because you didn't last year.
Oh, was it supposed to be male and female?
This is I knew it. This is exactly what happened last
You
year.
should have put male and female in the email, in the text message. So for my female, it's going to be Manon and the 13. It can't just be one of them. They have to be all together.
That is mine too.
And then, so my male one then would be Trick, because I had to come up with something fast.
Something on the flat.
And the first one of this, because he's not in this one. But yeah, I really actually liked him in the first book, so
I really did too.
on a whim, that's what I'll just pick.
So my female was Manon from Kingdom of Ash or the Throne of Glass series, and then my male, it's from the Queen of the Tearling series. I don't have the first book. I actually don't know what happened to it. His name is Lazarus, or as everyone calls him, the Mace. And he is Kelsey's, who is the main female protagonist in this book series. He's her like bodyguard and like, you know, the Queen's right-hand man. That would be him. Yeah, I really love him. He's actually my favorite character in this book series.
Nice. I need to read that book series.
Yes, you do.
I have the first two as Kindles. And the next category
is Best Original Screenplay or Plot/World.
So my pick is going to be the Throne of Glass world, the whole bit of it.
Everything.
I read this series in 2 months, mainly because I was trying to not tell my friends that I was reading it and surprise them.
Kept it a secret.
When the last book came out.
You did a really good job. I had no idea. Mine is the Psy Changeling World from this series by Nalini Singh. This is the first 2 books of this series, and I discovered Nalini Singh this year and have read both of her major series. One is the Psy Changeling series, and the other is the Archangel's Guild, which I love. You should just read Nalini Singh because honestly, she's so talented. If you're looking for like diversity and, you know, things in books, like she has it. She's been doing it, you know, so yeah, it's really great. This is the first book, Slave to Sensation. And I just finished the last book that's out right now. I think it's book 17 or 18.
17.
Ocean's Light. I just finished it today. So I read this whole series this year, which I'm very proud of.
I'm proud of you too.
Honestly, it's so interesting. If you have ever watched the movie Equilibrium with Christian Bale, they take something to like quiet down or totally blanket their emotions so they don't feel anything. And that's kind of the premise of this book. The Psy are a race that have eradicated emotions because of wars and catastrophes and stuff that has happened. So their solution is to just not feel anything. And they have changelings, which is what they call shifters. They have leopards, panthers, bears, wolves, sea creatures that are very, even you know, I just read the last book and they're kind of still mysterious. No one really knows about the sea changelings. So they're just getting into the story just now. So, but yeah, it's amazing. I love it so much. And if you like shifters, you should totally read it.
And the next Academy Award is... I don't know what it is.
The next category is Best Adapted Screenplay or Book to Film Adaptation.
So we read this entire series, all the books that are out at least.
All the books that are currently out.
Of the main ones, because I know that they've got novellas or whatever. And honestly, quite frankly, the TV show is better than the book. And pretty much anyone I know will say that, minus like one person.
My pick is A Discovery of Witches.
Which is technically not out in America yet. So.
I know. We read this for our In Real Life book club. I didn't really enjoy it as much as all the other girls did, and
We
so
loved it.
I didn't move on to the rest of the series. There's books, you know, there's 4 books.
3. Technically, there's 3 in this trilogy, but there's a 4th one that came out this year from a character in this book. But I don't know
Marcus,
if it's
right?
Yeah.
Okay.
I don't know if it's supposed to be along the same. I haven't read it yet. It's on my TBR.
I started watching the show because I love Matthew Good and I love Teresa Palmer. So I immediately wanted to watch it, even though I didn't really enjoy the book. Watching the show, I'm like, I don't remember any of this. But yeah, I really, really enjoyed the TV show, and so I decided to reread book 1. I'm currently in the middle of book 2 right now. But yeah, it's one of those book series where I love the show more than I like the book, because even with this reread and picturing, you know, Matthew Good and Teresa Palmer as, you know, the characters and kind of like, oh, this is where it was in the show and, you know, things like that, I still didn't really, I mean, I enjoyed it, but it's not like, oh my god, this was so good. And so, yeah, it's just one of those things where I just like the show better than I like the book. It's one of those things. Sorry. I'm probably getting a thumbs down as we speak.
And the next category is...
It's Best Animated Feature or book that would be good as an animated series, or I added this last year, a comic book or a graphic novel. I did not read any... That's a lie. I did. I read 1 graphic novel, which I didn't really like, so obviously.
I didn't read any graphic novels. So my pick for what would be a good animated series, possibly, would be Renegades. It was actually a really good book. There were superheroes, there were villains, and I think it would actually work. I actually really like this book. And the 2nd book actually came out, which I haven't yet read, but it's probably one of the first books I'll read in the new year.
Nice. And we like Marissa Myers, so yeah. Really, anything she writes is gold. I don't actually have the physical copy of this book. I borrowed it from the library during the Witchathon back in October, and that is The Girl Who Drank the Moon by Kelly Barnhill. And I just love this book so much. It was so whimsical and magical and poignant and beautiful. Well, it's about this small village who puts a baby out in the woods for the witch to take, so they would appease the witch and not have her magic and, you know, the consequences if they didn't put the baby out. On the flip side, you get a lot of the witch's point of view, and turns out she's not a bad witch. She is wondering why this town keeps leaving babies out in the forest. And so she takes them to this other town, or it's kind of like another magical dimension, whatever, that will, you know, raise the child and love the child. And so it's just funny how, you know, perceptions can vary. And there's this one baby that she takes, and instead of giving the baby Starlight, which she gives them Starlight to feed them because she doesn't have, you know, milk or food for the baby, she gives them Starlight. And this one baby, she accidentally, on purpose, feeds her the moonlight, which makes her a very powerful witch when she grows up and comes into her power. So it was very, very awesome. I really love the book. You should read it. It would just be really amazing. She has all these cute little friends that are like sprites and dragons and stuff. So yeah, I think that would make a good animated series.
Very nice. And the next 2018 Academy Award goes to
Best director or author you discovered this year.
So my pick
That's right.
was Sandra Brown. Chill Factor just happened to be my favorite of hers so far.
It's also the first one we read.
Yeah, it was. So they all have been letting me down since, but they're all really good. So if you ever want like a good semi-romance, mostly mystery, she's really good. Suspense, yeah. I think it's funny is because I think you gave this book to me like 3 years ago, or you like threw it at me at one of the book fairs and you were like, buy this because you're gonna love it. And it sat on my shelf for so long.
So freaking long, and then she reads it and she loves it. Yeah.
And I think we've read like 4 or 5 of her so far this year, with our good friend Kelsey, who we're gonna read more of these with next year.
Yeah, and Chill Factor is actually my favorite Sandra Brown book. So if you want to start on your Sandra Brown adventure,
Do that one.
Chill Factor. So I did discover Nalini Singh this year, and she is amazing. I've read all of the books in her 2 major series, and they're amazing, and you should read them and just do it. Just do it. She's talented.
Okay. And the next category is
Best visual effects or action in a book.
and mine. So it would be Warcross and Wildcard. But yeah, it was a really good book. I actually reread Warcross this year because I audiobooked it, which is why I don't have a physical copy. But it was really good. I'm really looking forward to the next book. So hopefully that comes out this next year, although I don't know what it's called yet.
Mine is An Ember in the Ashes. Is it Ashes? Yeah, by Sawa Tahir. And this book is about, it actually has a very Roman Empire vibe to it. The main female protagonist in this book, Laya, she goes kind of undercover in this military school where she meets Elias, and there's just a lot of action just within that in general because they're training soldiers to be a part of the militia that kind of rules this empire, so you just get a lot of action and adventure where that is concerned. It's really good, you should read it.
Alright, and the next category is
Best musical score or best music from a book to film adaptation.
my book's not up here. I actually picked this one last year, and I promise I don't reread this book every year to be able to put it into the Academy Awards. It's just I wanted to finish the series this year, but it was The Divergent. I actually finished all 3 of them. Actually, I even read book 4 too.
Nice.
So, but yeah, I really like that one just because I do like Ellie Goulding. But my other pick would have been Outlander, but that's just because I had to pick another book.
So I reread Lord of the Rings, The Fellowship of the Rings. I actually wanted to continue on and read the entire series, but I didn't. Other things caught my attention, as you can see. But the score in these films are just
epic.
Fantastic. Even like the first, with The Hobbit, the 3 of those, and then all the other movies as well. They're just amazing film scores. Yeah, so that's my pick.
And the next Academy Award is
Best short film or short story or novella.
I had 2. Surprise, surprise.
Surprising.
So there's this one. So J.R. Ward came out with a new book called Consumed, but before that but it was the part 2, Reception, because that's when they banged it out, and it was really intense, and I loved it. And then the other one was Court of Frost and Starlight, because Sarah J. Maas is wonderful, and even though people hated it because they're like, this is fan fiction, I thought it was glorious, and I loved it.
Good job.
I feel like that was a lot, Jen. That was a lot.
So in March there was Middle Grade March. It's just a readathon where you read middle grade books. I read all of the books in the Chronicles of Narnia series by C.S. Lewis. Yeah, they were really good. I really liked that. I kind of read them like boom, boom, like back to back to back, and you just get the whole story. And honestly, I don't know why they stopped filming these, because I really liked the film adaptations.
I liked them. I thought Prince Caspian was pretty spicy.
Delicious. But yeah, and I heard that there is going to be a Netflix TV show.
Yeah, they're going to do better with that then.
So, so yeah, these books are little novellas.
And the next Academy Award category is?
It is Best Picture or Best Standalone.
Mine was actually earlier this year. I told my friend that we were gonna read like 30 pages a day, and then I read my first 30 pages, and then I was like, do you mind if I keep going, because I'm really into this? And she's like, yeah, just let me know where you stop. So
She didn't stop.
like 20 pages from the end, I had to get ready to go to work, so that blew. But it's Ugly Love by Colleen Hoover.
Ooh, I like Colleen Hoover.
You should definitely read it. It's good. It'll rip your heart right out.
Right out. Mine, I guess, where you can see where I'm going with this, is Archer's Voice by Mia Sheridan.
What? I would never have known.
Never have guessed. Oh my God. Yeah, like I talked about it when I, told you about Archer. So you should just take all those reasons times infinity and read this damn book. Because it's amazing. Watch, you're gonna read it and you're gonna be like, this book is actually terrible.
And last but not least, the final Academy Award of the evening is...
Best documentary or historical or nonfiction book?
Didn't read one.
Okay, my pick for historical, I actually didn't read any nonfiction this year, which, magical. My pick is The Magic Strings of Frankie Presto by Mitch Albom. I read this again at the beginning of the year, and it was really good. A 5-star read. Magical realism is just becoming one of my favorite subgenres or genres. But this goes through like the 50s and 60s of this man, Frankie Presto, and the strings of his guitar are magic, where they grant him a wish or, something like that. So he has 6 strings, obviously, because it's for his guitar. And so you're just going through his life and his troubles and, adversities. And it was really a beautiful story, heartbreaking. But I loved it, and that's how just Mitch Albom writes. He writes beautiful, whimsical stories that are heartbreaking, but you just love them.
Round of applause, we've made it. Yay!
We made it to the end. That was it.
And Harry didn't fall over once. Yay, Harry! Round of applause for you.
So that is it. That is our 2018 Bookish Academy Awards, some of our favorite books that we read in the year 2018. And if you've read any of these books, or you loved them, you hated them,
You
or
disagree with us? You totally agree with us?
let us know in the comments. And comment some of books that you have read in 2018 that you have loved. And like my video if you did. Comment below and subscribe to my channel. And you can follow me on all the social media platforms. The links will be in the description box below. We'll see you next time, avid readers. Bye, guys. Let's see what that looks like with Harry just chilling out there. Fucking cute. That's what it looks like.
Do you remember that?
No! God damn it. Until I got it down.
No! How does it look now? Now you gotta
It's
figure
fucking
it out.
fucked up, okay? I took a picture of me and Duchess. She was like cuddling like right here on my shoulder, and I was laying down, so I took a picture. It was dark, I couldn't really see, but it just flashed, and I pulled it up, and I was like, I have 3 chins. I'm deleting that immediately. Whatching away.
Because the curls are losing.
Do you know how hard it is to go to sleep with your eye fucking twitching?
You can't. You just can't.
You just fucking can't.
Nostrils!
Fucking nostril. And he is a mouthful.
And
they weren't allowed to touch.
yeah, because he was her teacher and she's the student.
I'm already hooked because I love that trope. It's
So
rare.
at one point, he's technically no longer her teacher, and so he goes to grab her elbow to keep her there, and then he drags his hand down the inside of her arm, and I'm just like, that's like not even a little bit scandalous, but at the same time I was like, it's too much for me right now.
Oh my god, he touched her arm.